Namaste Radio Zindagi listeners. Welcome to Radio Zindagi 1550 AM and 99.7 FM HD3. Today we have another exciting show off, with Amit Inamdar. You are going to get the power pack 30 minutes of information on real estate appraisals today. अगर आपको कोई सवाल पूछना है अमित से, आप बात करना चाहते हैं, you can call us on the studio number 510-770-1550 to ask a question on air. However, if you are unable to get in, क्योंकि हमें काफी सारे कॉल्स आते हैं कई बार और हम बात नहीं कर पाते हैं सबसे, you can always submit a question for a personal response. You can go to his website, which is ownsweethome.net. That's O-W-N, own, sweethome.net, and click on the radio show link to submit your question. Or you can always find Amit Inamdar just by searching his name on Google. Amit, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Hira, and thank you for being here today. Hello, friends. Own Sweet Home, and welcome to my show, Power Hour with Amit Inamdar. You know, the appraisals are integral part of the real estate transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Appraisals are done to protect the lender. Lender is the one giving you the money to purchase the home, and the lender wants to make sure their money is protected.
Ji.
Home appraisals are always performed by a licensed real estate appraiser.
Mm-hmm.
When buyer's contract for the purchase gets accepted, many times it is conditional upon home appraisal coming in at the price that you are paying.
Okay.
In today's markets, appraisal contingencies are waived by buyers who have enough down payment to purchase the home.
Mm-hmm.
Low appraisals, can break the real estate deal. And remember, appraisers also make the mistakes.
Okay.
So when time comes to appeal the appraised value, who's going to help you? Many bank loan officers do not even know or have the clue about the market and what's selling and at what price and why.
And that is where expertise of Amit comes into play. He is both real estate and a mortgage broker. In case of an appraisal issue, he can draft a convincing appeal in many cases where you do not have to lose a deal. I mean, imagine losing a deal to an appraisal. That must be really hard when you have your mind set on a home, right?
Absolutely. So in the rising markets of today era, the appraisers are lower than the contract price in many cases. You actually you don't bid on the house, you bid against other buyers, and that's why the house and appraisal kind of disconnect comes into play.
Ji.
Okay. I have talked about risk management in the past many times, and as a part of risk analysis, I evaluate my buyer's fund availability and the possible appraisal shortfall to make sure the buyers can comfortably bid and get into a contract.
Right.
This is a part of risk management in the real estate business. Once the buyers and sellers agree on the purchase price and the terms for home sale, that is the market value of the home if the deal closes.
Mm-hmm.
Appraisals, however, are always backward looking. They look at what is recently sold in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Appraisers then make adjustments to the sold properties to match the characteristics of the home you are buying and come up with the value for your home.
So, Amit, you mentioned that appraisals are a very critical part of home purchase transactions. Can you elaborate a little more, maybe give us an example?
Sure. Imagine there is a home for sale for $600,000 and you decide to pay the full price.
And which area exactly of Silicon Valley are we referring to where a home comes for a $6,000 price?
Oh, you mean 600,000, right? Remember, you can replay my words now,
Mm-hmm.
I said imagine a home is for sale for 600,000.
I'm sure it is only in imagination.
Now tell me, how will you feel if the professional valuation of the home comes at $500,000?
Okay.
Okay, that means you are overpaid almost $100,000.
$100,000.
And that's not a good feeling, So now let's assume due to the market, $600,000 is the only price seller is willing to sell you the home, and you want nothing else but this home.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a good 20% down payment, that is $120,000 on the $600,000, right?
Yeah.
And you expect the lender to give you the loan balance, remaining loan for the balance of around $480,000.
Right.
However, since the appraisal comes in at $500,000, which is $500,000, lender says he's not going to give you a loan on something you are overpaying. He's only going to give you the loan on what the house is worth.
Right.
So he gives you a loan of 80% on $500,000, which is a $400,000 loan. So to buy a home of $600,000, now you will need $200,000 in your bank instead of $120,000 that you planned.
Yes.
If you don't have that money, you have no choice but not to purchase the property or evaluate other options for loan programs. Greedy sellers may lose on a good buyer just because of the appraisal. Also, if the buyer does not assess the appraisal risk, he may lose his 3% deposit that is typically paid upfront while in the home purchase contract.
Okay. So looks like appraisal is a serious business. You had mentioned appraised value. What is an appraised value?
The appraisal is opinion of home value by a licensed appraiser.
Okay.
And I kind of get confused between the word appraiser and appraisal and all that. But anyway, these are kind of probably can create a tongue twister for my buyers going forward,
Yes.
So appraiser follows the guidelines, and based on the recent sales within certain radius from the home, he compares the subject property with the neighborhood sales to come up with an appraised value. The home has typically many values. Okay, for example, the listing price the home is being listed at,
Okay.
That's the marketing value of the home.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that the house is going to sell at that price. In a hot market like this, it may sell well above that. Okay. The price buyers and sellers then agree on, it's called the market value of the home.
Market value.
And appraisers are done, as I said earlier, to protect the lender. So appraisers that are backward looking, and they are a result of this appraisal process where they look at what is sold in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And so they typically come out lower than what the bidding kind of takes you to, the price that bidding takes you to. Okay. And just to make things even more confusing, there is another value called assessed value.
Okay.
And you will end up seeing that on many websites. Oh, the assessed value of this home is 200K. And you won't know why it is that low. And that value is used in determining the taxes on the property. And when you purchase the property, that's what the assessed value typically becomes. Okay. And it goes up typically 2% every year. And irrespective of the market going way up, that's how that 2% ends up working out. Okay. So each value has its purpose, and it plays a role in this real estate market.
So you mentioned marketing value, market value, and assessed value.
And appraised value.
Oh my God.
That's the main topic of the subject. Right?
Yes. Right. So listeners, I have a lot of questions for Amit, but in case you also would like to ask him any questions about real estate, please feel free to call us on the studio number 510-770-1550. Amit is here in the studio and would love to answer your questions. 510-770-1550, or you could also go onto his website and leave a question or find more information on ownsweethome.net. That's OWN, ownsweet, home.net. Or in fact, even if you just Google his name, Amit Inamdar, on Google, you will find his contact details. So Amit, coming back, what are the typical property features that actually affect the value of a property during these appraisals?
Right, sure. So first of all, let me tell you, if the property is a fixer-upper, and a lot of people get fascinated by that, saying, oh, I will buy the fixer-upper and then I'll fix it and make it really nice and I'll buy it for a low value and all that.
Okay.
Right? But when the property requires a lot of work, the lender is not going to give you a loan on the property because property is not livable.
Right.
The lenders want property to be livable. Okay. So as a part of the appraisal process, the appraiser looks at the home as a whole. He actually measures the home and prepares a floor plan. So if you need a floor plan for your home, the best way to get it is get it from the appraiser itself, or from the appraisals. Looks like we have a caller.
Yes, we have a caller. I was going to ask you, let's continue after this call.
Yeah.
Hello, you're on air with Amit Inamdar. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, Amitji, this is Ramesh here.
Hi, Ramesh. How can I help?
I'm a first-time home buyer, and so I was just trying to understand if we need to have a pre-approval first before we start looking out into the real estate, and if yes, and how long is the validity of this pre-approval?
Right.
Okay. What is it?
So typically the documentation you provide to get the pre-approval done is valid for like a period of 3 months. Okay. But let's say you get a pre-approval today and tomorrow the rates jump up. You need a new pre-approval because you're no longer pre-approved for that amount anymore because the rates in the markets have gone up. So it's a dynamic process, but typically the lenders will consider the documentation that you provide in last 90 days to be the current documentation. And if it goes beyond that, they will require a new documentation to get the new approval done. And you are right. You have to get pre-approved first before you start jumping into the market. And not only that, just because you're pre-approved doesn't mean that's the home you are end up going to buy, because you buy a home and you have to overbid or you overpay for a lower priced home and your down payment doesn't come up, and that's what we are talking about because of all these appraisal issues, then you may not even be able to buy the home. So you have to really do this risk management going forward. Got it, Ramesh?
Sure.
Okay.
So once, if I understand correctly, once something is pre-approved, it's valid for 90 days. So if you could get a home within that budget, then you don't have to go for a second approval.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, it's like the pre-approval you have is just kind of an initial assessment, right? But however, let's say you got a pre-approval at 4% interest rate and the rate jumped up to say 5% during those 3 months, or 2 months later they jumped to 5%. Of course, you are going to need a new pre-approval because your qualification will be lower at a higher interest rate.
Okay. And is this pre-approval something we can take first at a bank and then reach out to a realtor, or how does it normally work?
Yeah, so typically in a typical transaction, that's what people do. They go to the bank, they get the pre-approval, then they go show it to the realtor, and realtor starts showing them the homes in that price range. However, when you work with me, I'm also a mortgage broker. So you come to me and I kind of understand all your requirements, get your pre-approval done, and since, as I said, the pre-approval is dynamic, I'm always on the top of things to make sure when you're looking for homes, you are approved for that home. Okay?
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, Ramesh.
No, thank you very much for calling in. And listeners, if you also have any questions, please do call us. 510-770-1550 is the number to reach Amit right now in the studio. 510-770-1550, or you could also log on to his website, ownsweethome.net, or just look him up on Google, Amit Inamdar, and you'll find his contact details. Let's take the next caller.
All right.
Hello, you're on air with Amit Inamdar.
Hello, who's this?
Hi, my name is Vidya.
Hi, Vidya.
And, I actually already bought a house.
Yes.
But I have a just general question.
Sure.
While I was looking for a house, I was new to the area. I did not know any real estate agents. And my real estate agent really was bad. Like, he would not even accommodate, like, to walk in with us for an open house. But initially, we did sign up a contract with them saying, like, oh, yeah, if you buy a house, like, we will contact you and yada, yada. But I just felt it was unfair because he was getting, paid for something, a work that he was not doing. But so what is the issue? Like, if I were to look for a house now, and if I didn't like my real estate agent, can I go with some other real estate agent?
See, it depends on what the relationship you have and what you have signed with the agent and other things, okay? But before even you do that, I mean, if anybody who asks you to sign something upfront, I mean, that would be a red flag. I mean, so you should work with him or get to understand. I mean, if you look at the way I work, I have a lot of educational material for you on my website when you meet with me. And once you feel comfortable, then we move forward. I mean, the thing is, it's just like having an engagement with anything else. You have to feel comfortable with that. All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you, Vidya. We have another caller.
Yes, we do. Thank you for calling in, Vidya. Let's take our next caller. Hello, you're on air with Amit Inamdar. What's your name and what's your question?
Hello, Amit. I had a question with regards to the early caller on the pre-approval.
Right.
So is it better to get this pre-approval from a credit union or a bank? Which one would you recommend?
It really doesn't matter.
Your answer
What's your name again?
I think he already disconnected because he said he'll take the answer off.
All right. So it doesn't really matter whom you get the pre-approval from, okay? It can be from a bank, from a credit union, from a mortgage broker, or anybody else, okay? But remember, the mortgage brokers like myself add a additional advantage to you because once we run a credit report, it's good for all the lenders we represent. Like, I have around over 100 lenders approved with me. So that one credit report is good for all of them. Or it may so happen you may get a bank pre-approval and then you see, oh, credit union has a lower rate, then go there and run another credit report, then go somewhere else, and you will run it multiple times, affecting your credit score. And if you're on the border, it may affect you in terms of the rates and stuff. Okay. So the best thing to do is mortgage broker is your best source, in my opinion, because of the versatility of programs and lenders that we offer. And you're welcome to call me after the show.
All right. So, Amit, let's quickly take our next caller.
Thank you.
Hello, you're on air with Amit Inamdar. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Nitin.
Hi, Nitin.
I have actually two quick questions for Amitji.
Go ahead.
Amitji, I was wondering if you actually, so I have a rental income, and I've seen a lot of banks, they want 2 years of rental history to count their income for qualifying. So, and I had some banks who were doing that without looking at the 2 years, they were just okay with it. But now, recently, a lot of things have changed. Is that still the case with you? Like, is the banks that you deal with, do they also ask for 2 years rental history?
So it depends on what you're trying to do. If you are moving away from your current house, okay, and moving into a new one, you don't really need a rental history. You can rent your departing residence without a 2-year rental history, okay? If you owned a rental property 10 years ago and that property was rented out for like 3 years or 2 years, you can use that as your experience that you know the rental property and you can go and buy another rental property. Okay? So the thing is, it just depends on your specific situation, and different lenders have different risk tolerance, and that's how the things work. So if you need to know specifically, just call me after the show and we'll talk more. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other quick question is, what is the income to debt ratio for equity line of credit?
Again, that also depends on different lenders. I have a lender who will only go up to 38% on the home equity related activities, okay, between all your housing debts. Credit unions may take a higher risk, and I have seen them do that also. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for calling in. And listeners, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to call us on the studio number 510-770-1550 or log on to Amit's website, ownsweethome.net, or look him up on Google, Amit Inamdar, Own Sweet Home, and you will find his contact details. So coming back to you, Amit, my turn to ask you more questions.
Right.
You always talk about risk management. So when buyers are committing to $500,000 or $1 million mortgage, it is very important to evaluate all the risk factors. However, to understand the impact of these various factors, you also have to have the knowledge of the real estate buying process. So what are some of the basic understandings, because we have so many callers who had so many questions about first-time home buying. What are some of the basic understandings of this real estate business that one needs, or, and how does one get that information?
All right. Okay. I talk about my first-time home buyer webinar.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And the webinar is accessible on my website.
Okay.
The buyer can access this webinar for free. Okay.
Wow.
And I believe on education. Okay. So I want to educate people because this is a fast-moving market, first of all. If you're not educated and you just start seeing homes, that's what everybody wants to do. I want to buy a home, let me go see the homes.
Go see the homes, yes.
But you're not pre-approved. You don't even know how the real estate contracts work and all those things. And then when the time comes to really make an offer, you get really scared.
Right.
Okay. And you can't do what you want to do. And every time you get scared, the prices go up, right? Because you don't get in and the next house sells higher and higher. So the whole idea is to get educated upfront. And so some of the questions that my first-time homebuyer webinar is going to answer are like, how much can I afford? How does a $4,000 payment on a home mortgage, property taxes, and insurance is better than $2,000 in rent?
Okay.
How long do I own my home? How do I need good schools districts, or all 3 schools need to be good, or only one of them need to be good? How much I value my commute against my family life.
Right.
Because people working in the far parts, like working in San Jose, going all the way to San Ramon.
Yeah.
They spend long time,
distances.
and then the family life gets affected, and people don't think about those things up front. And when you meet with me, actually, I kind of go and analyze all these things, and this webinar also does a good justice for that.
Okay.
The mortgage rates change every day. Somebody asked us a question like, hey, does my qualification good for 90 days? And if they go up quite a bit, yeah, your qualification is no good even if it was done yesterday. So the webinar talks about that. And what is the cost of waiting to buy in the market? As a matter of fact, if you just search myself on Facebook, I just put a post yesterday that talked about 10 major cities across the U.S. and what's the cost of not owning a house over a period of 30 years over renting.
Wow.
And San Francisco area came up to like $300,000 plus if you didn't rent.
Okay.
And so then we talk about the tax benefits, and do I have to? People always worry about, hey, if I'm getting the tax benefit, do I have to wait the whole year to claim my savings and all that? I mean, you don't have to. And again, my webinar talks about that. It talks about where do I buy, what do I buy, okay? Which are the rising and stagnant neighborhoods in the Bay Area? What are real estate contracts? What are contingencies? What are the timelines in the contract? How do I meet those timelines? Loan approvals, appraisals, inspections, closing costs, escrow, title insurance, homeowner association rules, regulations, budgets, CCNRs, and a lot more, So if you think buying a home is a piece of cake, look at how long it took you to save the money for your down payment.
Right.
And before you spend that, educate yourself by making the most important decision of your life by watching this webinar first and then having a one-on-one with me. So and that's going to be the true power hour.
Power hour, yes.
Right.
This webinar you're saying is like a crash course.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. And listeners, if you would like to attend that webinar, see that webinar, the first time home buyers webinar is on Amit's website, which is ownsweethome.net. That's OWN, ownsweethome.net. It will answer all the questions that you as home buyers have. And with that information you receive, you will have more questions than you originally thought. And after viewing the webinar, have a one-on-one meeting, like Amit said, with him. And that... So I'm basically just repeating your words that those are going to be the true power hour with Amit Inamdar. So let's let me quickly remind our listeners that you can call on 510-770-1550 and let's take our next caller. Hello, you're on air with Amit Inamdar. Could you please turn off the radio in the background?
Yes, I have turned it off.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Amit.
Hi, who are you? What's your name?
My name is Vikas.
Vikas, go ahead.
And thanks for the show. It provides lots of useful information.
Yes.
My situation is I have a question regarding loan payoff. I have a house in Fremont and I have about $450K loan remaining.
Yeah.
And if I sell my company's stock option, I can get loan paid off. My question to you is, and I'm only 4 years old in this house.
Okay. You are owning the house for 4 years. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
My question is, should I pay off the loan or should I? And I'm very conservative. I do not invest anywhere elsewhere.
Right. No, absolutely. And again, of course, you have to look at your investment style and see what you can do because. Just paying it off doesn't kind of lot of times may not make sense to a lot of people either because even though you are kind of debt free from that standpoint and you have a peace of mind, but if you are well educated enough to manage your investments, then you can actually make even more money. Like for example, you have a $500,000 home and you pay it off. That $500,000 is just sitting there. It's not earning you anything, And if you think, the house will go up in future, it will go up whether you have a loan or not. Okay. So the thing is, does that money have a better use somewhere else? That's the question you need to ask and then decide whether you really need to pay it off. Okay, let's take the next caller before we...
Right. Well, thank you very much for calling in. Let's take our next caller. Hello, you're on air with Amit Inamdar. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Praveen.
Yes, Praveen.
And my question is, so I bought a house back in 2007, and I was only on the mortgage.
Yeah.
But then I later put on my wife on the deed. So I guess I'm assuming I won't be considered a first-time buyer going forward, but would my wife be considered a first-time buyer if we plan to buy a house on her name as mortgage?
Right. So the thing is, it depends on whom you're talking to, right? Of course, you don't have a mortgage, but she owns a house too. So the thing is, she's no longer a first-time home buyer. The typically rules I have seen from the cities and other places, the lenders, and that's when this first-time home buyer really comes to help you. is if you haven't owned a home in last 3 years, you are a first-time home buyer. So maybe you want to take her off the title, and if you want 3 years later, she will be a first-time home buyer. But there is nothing like a first-time home buyer incentives that you want to get into, other than any kind of city programs that you want to take advantage of, or below market rate. It's just a gimmick. Okay, everybody talks about first-time home buyers. We have a great thing for first-time home buyers. There's nothing like that. Second-time home buyers get the same thing. Okay. It's just.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, Praveen. Looks like we are running out of time now.
We are at the end of our show here, Amit.
Right.
There was so much to ask you. I had so many questions to ask you.
This is good. Okay.
We will continue next week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Veera.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us and being on air with us. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. आप अमित से कोई सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं, if you were trying to reach him on air, if you were not able to reach him on air, कोई बात नहीं. Go to his website, ownsweethome.net. That's OWNSweetHOME.net. Click on the radio show link. Leave a question. Amit will be more than happy to answer that question for you in the next week's program. Or just Google his name if you don't remember the website. Google Amit Inamdar and you will find contact details. And we will, Amit, see you again next week at 4 o'clock.
Yes, thank you.
All right, next Friday at 4 o'clock. Listeners, आप कहीं मत जाइए. Stay tuned to Radio Zindagi. जिए जाओ.